Hello again, J Spot peeps, and welcome back to the J Spot. I'm your host, Mr. J. And for those of you who have subscribed thus far, thank you. I really do appreciate your support. And for those of you who are stopping by for the first time, welcome. And while you're here, make sure, subscribers and first timers, give me a like, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Make sure if you haven't already that you subscribe. Share this content with your family and friend and drop me a comment. I'd love to know what you think. Let's start a conversation and make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified of content uploads going forward. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a song and go back to the premise of this channel for a little while. Let's get right to it, shall we? When I first started this channel back in January, when I did my introductory video, I talked about what my intentions were as far as what I wanted to share, the content. I spoke about my injury, how I was stabbed in my heart, how God resurrected me, and how I suffered through, and still to a certain degree suffer through things because of that injury. But the main thing that I wanted to share was the power of discovery, resurrection, and purpose, and how, as Scripture says, unless a seed dies into itself, it will never bear fruit. And to that end, because I went through what I went through, God was able to extract my purpose from within me, and allowed me to bear fruit, and not necessarily to make money. I am sure that the purpose for my bearing fruit, the foundational purpose of it, is for edification of others and service to others. When and where and if God decides that I should be rewarded for this financially, then that is in His hands. I will follow His instructions. When He speaks to me, I learned a lesson years ago when I was in the Navy, that when He speaks to me, I move. Now, it took me a long time to learn that lesson, but once I learned it, and I know when He's speaking to me, I move, because I know, as He said with the Holy Spirit, that His ministrations comfort me, guide me into all truths, and tell me of things to come. I'm not one of those people who ask God for signs, and then when He gives it to me, I basically tell Him He doesn't know what He's talking about, because it wasn't the sign I had in my head. I don't play games with God like that. But I digress. I'm going to share a song with you all today about resurrection and discovery and purpose. And I'm going to give you a little background, some context of where this song came from, how it came about. I happen to know, as many of you probably do, that some of the most beautiful scriptures in the Bible were written by a man while he was in prison, in his darkest hours. And I found that in my darkest hours, I wrote some of the most beautiful poetry and some of the most beautiful songs you have not heard yet. But this particular, when I got out of the hospital in September of 1999, I got stabbed in August of 1999. I went home to an apartment alone. I was in bad shape. And when I went into that apartment, back to my apartment, there was blood everywhere. Fortunately, I had beautiful wood floors, and because it was hot, the blood, when it dried, it flaked, so it wasn't hard to clean. The bathroom was a different story. But I did it. And the first night I was home, I got down on my knees, and I thank God for bringing me home safe, back home. And I went to bed. And I woke up probably around 4 o'clock. And I couldn't sleep. And God's talking to me. And he's like, get up, get up, get up. So I got up and I went into the kitchen. I'm standing over the stove in a dark kitchen with the stove light on over the stove. And I'm just standing there. And I asked God, I said, God, why did you keep me here on this earth? What's the reason? At the time, I was in the car business, had been for years, almost 20 years at the time. Well, not quite, because I spent some time in the Navy, maybe 15, 16 years. And he didn't speak to me. He didn't tell me anything. Well, maybe he did in a way, and all of a sudden I got an urge. I said, God, you could not have just kept me here to sell cars. So all of a sudden I had an urge to write a poem. So I go grab a piece of paper and I'm standing over the stove and I'm writing a poem. And I turned that into a song down the road, years later, which I'll share in a video at another time. But for this particular time video, I'm going to share a particular song. Now last night, which was Thursday night, this is Friday, June 6th, I'm recording this. I did a video, follow-up video in the series, My Country Used to Be. About 25, 30 minutes long, but it bothered me all night long, and I woke up this morning at 3:45, couldn't sleep, just like I did that night when I went back to my apartment. I couldn't sleep. God's gnawing at me, my spirit's gnawing at me. This is not what I want you to do, Jay. I don't want you to put that video out. So I got up. He said, get up and go into your office and start listening to some of your music. And as is the case most times, when I revisit things that I've written, poetry, music, songs, articles, it touches me because I realize the gift. So I'm listening to music on SoundCloud that I have on SoundCloud. I come across one angel of mine. The next thing I know, I'm posting a short, which you may have seen. And I'm determined. I said, well, I'm going to go home tonight, which is Friday night, and I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go back to what I said I was going to do originally. Now, this particular song is titled, This Too Shall Pass. Now, when I wrote this song, it was in 2010. I was living in a boarding house in Passaic, New Jersey, because I had lost everything I had. I had gone back to work, but then in 2007 and 2008, when I was in the car business, we had the recession, and I lost my job as a car salesman because General Motors was closing dealerships. So I drew unemployment for a couple of years, and then my body started to break down again. So and once unemployment was gone, I ended up getting a job for the city of Patterson Department of Recreation, which I'd had once before in 2002. But it was a part-time job. I wasn't making much money at all. And so I was living in a boarding house in Passaic, and it was a crack house. Of course, I wasn't getting high, but that's all I could afford. And it was roach infested, had to share the bathroom down the hall full of roach. It was just terrible. No air conditioning. But anyway, so as you probably know, some of you, some of the most beautiful scriptures in the Bible were written by a man while he was in prison, in his darkest hours. And this is what happened with me. In my darkest hours, I wrote some of the most beautiful poetry and songs. have yet to hear. And I had a little portable studio about the size of a phone book that my producer had bought for me, and I learned how to use it. And I recorded songs on this thing, all the vocals, the lead, the background, and wrote the songs, recorded them all on this little thing in a bedroom, not in a studio. But this particular song, I'm sitting there at night and I'm actually crying because I'm throwing myself a pity party. And the Spirit begins to speak to me and says, Jay, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. So I begin to write. One night while sitting in the darkness all alone, wallowing in salty tears, drowning my sorrows in the waters of fear, anchored with burdens of stone, when something inside of me spoke to my heart, spoke to my fears and the dread. A voice filled with light spoke to me in the dark. These are the words that he said. Weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. For this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Now when I get to the bridge, I don't know what to do. So all of a sudden the Spirit says, well, and I got another story similar to this too. It says, you wrote a poem. Some of that poem can go right in this part. And I had written a poem called I'll Meet You There, which I think I shared several months back. And it's a Lazarus poem. And it talks about resurrection. And I consider myself somewhat of a Lazarus figure. So I wrote this poem, and the first verse says, show me the spot where you lost all your hope, where the hope in your eyes did last gleam. Show me the spot on the road where you spoke the eulogy over your dreams. Now you may have remembered in a lot of my videos, earlier videos, I would ask this question, where have you laid your dreams? And this particular poem was based on the Lazarus story, where Christ asked the sisters of Lazarus, where have you laid him? And the poem is asking the question, show me where you laid your dreams, where you buried your hope. And Christ says, if you show me that spot, point to the spot, I promise that I'll meet you there. So I added some of that into the bridge of the song. I'm not going to go, I'm going to play it at the end. But I'm sharing this with you all for you, any of you out there who think that your hope is lost and that your dreams are dead. Your dreams are not dead. They're only asleep. Just like Christ told the sisters of Lazarus, he is not dead. He only sleeps. And he raised Lazarus, even though he knew he was dead, he allowed him to die for the glory of God. And that's what I want you to understand. Sometimes God allows your dreams to feel the same as though they're dead so he can resurrect them and show his power. And it's not always about money. We ain't taking any money with us when we die. My gift is for service. And if and when God decides that I should be financially rewarded for that, then it'll be on him to do it. He'll tell me what to do. He'll show me where to go. So remember, weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. So, J-Spot peeps, enjoy the song, and I hope it brings some joy and becomes a blessing to your life. Thank you once again, J-Spot peeps, for spending some of your valuable time here with me in the J-Spot. And as we go out, please enjoy the song, This Too Shall Pass. And for those of you who have subscribed thus far, thank you once again for your support. And for those of you who stopped by for the first time, thank you again also. And I hope that you dropped a like while you were here. And make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified of content uploads going forward. And please, make sure you come back to see me, because we have a lot more discovering to do and a lot more purpose to pursue. And lastly, where have you laid your dreams? In the meantime, peace.
Weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. For this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. One night while sitting in the darkness all alone, wallowing in salty tears, drowning my sorrows in the waters of fear, anchored with burdens of sorrow, when something inside of me spoke to my heart, spoke to my fears and the dread. A voice filled with light spoke to me in the dark, and these are the words that it said. Weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. For this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Show me the spot where you lost all your hope, where the hope is your eyes that last gleam. Show me the spot on the road where you spoke the eulogy over your dreams. Show me the spot on the road where you slept, where you gave us the game into fear. Show me the spot, just point to the sky, and I promise that I'll meet you there. Weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. For this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Weeping may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. For this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass.